What's up, everyone? It's Paul Salazar at Hilton in Hyland. It is Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not happy hour time. I got a showing today at 5. So unfortunately, I cannot do an IG Live at 5 like I usually do. We're being joined today by Erika Mattos. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. She's a realtor in the Bay Area. I think she services Sonoma and Marin County, which I've been to. Beautiful area, so really jealous that she's doing it in that area. We're going to have her on in just a second. So I want to say hi to everybody. Hello, Mr. Mortgage and Servin. All right, we're going to bring Erika on right now. Here we go. All right, let's see here. She pops on. There you are.
Paul,
What's up, Erika?
doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to have you on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's an honor.
I haven't talked to you ever.
I know.
You said that you wanted to do an IG Live, so I'm like, absolutely. Let's do an IG Live together. That's great.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you about your business. Tell me, how long have you been selling real estate for?
Okay, so I have been in the business for 4 weeks. I think I'm going on 4.5
4 weeks. I love it.
Fresh in the business. I have been watching YouTube videos. I have been reading books. I've been watching you. I've been doing everything I can to build the foundation to go up. So I believe that, watching people that have been in the business, that are seasoned, that know what they're doing, those are the best people to learn from.
100%.
So to find all of those people I can and watch them and mimic them and just follow their lead.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to make it happen, and I'm fresh. I'm with a small independent broker in Sebastopol. And so
what's it called?
It's called Camp and Company in Sebastopol, California.
Okay.
So a lot of the marketing and a lot of all this stuff is all on me. So, it's kind of like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So,
Sure.
Just trying to follow the path of what others have done, and watching you and
That's awesome.
Brian
Very cool.
and Tom Ferry, just trying to pick up all these different things and kind of make my own thing going on.
That's awesome. So what did you do before real estate?
Before real estate, I have been working with my family businesses. My uncle is a hotel developer, and about 4 years ago, he was like, I'm going to start building a hotel here in Katati, which is right next to Sebastopol. Which I had just gotten my real estate license. And I was like, well, my family is everything to me. So I was like, I'm going to put the real estate license on the side, and I'm going to learn hotel development with my uncle. Mm-hmm. And I have learned so much in the last 4 years of what it takes to, build a plan, to implement the plan, to execute the plan. And I'm really excited to actually break ground here shortly this year and watch this project that we've been working on for 4 years come to life. And
That's
then
amazing.
COVID hit and everything kind of took a hold there in hospitality. So I was like, I had to renew my real estate license. I said, why not hang it now? And, we're in a good market for it. So about 5 weeks ago, I hung my license and I have hit the ground running.
Yes.
Two options. I could, put my toe into real estate and, feel the water, or I could just dive in head first and just make it happen. And I decided just to go head first into it. And
I love that. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I always are so careful. I want to be perfect. But, my coach is like, just do it. Do it. Stop thinking about it. Done is better than perfect. And that's like something I'm always constantly working on. So I commend you with that. Just, go in and just do it. Because listen, we're all going to make mistakes, right? So you're going to make a mistake sooner, rather than later if you just go for it. And that's great. So you started 4 weeks ago. What are you doing what's your day-to-day like right now? Are you just learning, or are you actually prospecting? What's your day look like?
I'm doing everything. So I have a huge whiteboard in my living room, and I have organized my whiteboard I have my goal written out. I have a quote that I live by.
Nice. What is that?
What was my quote to live by? Fear everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Oh, that's a good quote.
So
that's a good quote. Fear everything and run. And then what was the rest of it?
Or face everything and rise.
Face everything and rise. That's awesome. I love that.
So I see that every day, and I have, a big to-do list that kind of keeps me on track. If I'm ever like, what should I do? I can always go back to that list. I have the list that I want to complete during the week. So I wake up, I get a cup of tea, I sit on the couch, turn on the horrible news, just kind of get a little idea of what's going on out there, turn it off, open up my computer, I go on the MLS site, see what's going on there. A lot of the time I like to, like on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I like to go to broker tours.
Yeah.
I'll go on the MLS, figure out where I want to go, and then, jump in the car and go and meet the brokers, walk the houses, learn the inventory. I do cold calls during the day. My broker bought a lead generation thing, and so he sends us contacts every day, and I do cold calling. Cold calling has been quite the experience.
Oh yeah, it's not easy.
I would say I feel really, really bad for the first 3 voicemails that I left, because those were really raw. And if I could just take those back, just, and try to start those over. I mean, I feel bad whoever has to listen to those.
I love it.
They were just like, oh, it's beginning to flow a little bit better now. Thank God. So I do.
Let me ask you, what are these leads that he's sending you? Are they like people that are looking to sell? Are they buyers? Are they what leads are they?
Both. So sometimes they'll be buyers, sometimes they'll be sellers. And I've kind of tried to make my own script type thing from other people's scripts, and kind of, listening to what other people use and make it my own, put my own little twist to it. And I got 1 listing appointment. I did my first listing appointment on Monday. I was so terrified, but
good for you.
Got through that.
That's awesome. The first month you got an appointment?
Yes,
That's great. Tell us more about that. Like, go back. I want to talk about how you got because that's awesome. In your first month of real estate, you got a listing appointment on a cold call. That is great. That's huge. So tell me more about that.
Okay, so I was doing my calls for the day, and I did my calls around, I think, 3:00, and about 6:30 my phone rings, and I look at the number, and I'm like, that kind of looks like a number that I called earlier. It's a 707. That's my area code. Yeah. And I'm like, well, maybe I have a couple brothers and things. I don't have their number saved. They're always changing their numbers. And I'm like, was it them? I'm like, I don't know. Answered it. And she was like, oh, sorry, I have the wrong number. Like, I don't know if she was expecting like an office person or something. Yeah. And I phone hello. Yeah. And she, sorry, and hangs up. And I was like, I have a feeling that was somebody I called. Yeah. So I have a prospecting notebook of everybody I call. I write their name down, all their information. If I left a voicemail, if I left a text, whatever it is, and date it so I know I can reference back to it. And so I pull out my notebook and I'm going through them, and I'm like, oh, this is somebody that I called. And right when I'm saying that, my phone rings again, and it's her. And I'm like, hello? And she's like, oh. And I'm like, hi, blah, blah, blah. This is Erika. I'm with Camp and Company Real Estate. I saw that you were interested in selling your home on blah, 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 123 Main Street. And she was like, yeah, I am. And she kind of starts rattling off and about the thing. And then I was like, well, I would love to do a CMA for you to, see what we could list your house for on the market. Oh, I would absolutely love to. I felt like she kind of mentioned that she was going through a divorce. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. She's kind of giving me some information on her own. Yeah. And I told her, great. I would love to, see, what other things have sold, what's active. And I would love to report back to you and see what my findings are. And she's like, absolutely. Thank you. I would love that. I'm like, whoa, that went rather smooth. I'm like,
there's some that are easy and some that are hard. But if you don't call, you won't get any of those.
You won't know if you don't call.
You won't know if you don't call. Yeah. Before you continue, you continue, hold on. We have a question. Yulia says, is there a way to work without cold calls? People nowadays don't like to talk on the phone. Yes, I mean there's multiple ways to get leads. You can do open houses, you can door knock, you can send mailers, you can do social media stuff, but cold calling is probably one of the most effective ways to prospect. I think second to door knocking. I think door knocking is a little bit more effective just because you get the face to face, but you have to be out there and doing some work. I think cold calling is like once you get the hang of it and you get that uncomfortability out of you, people do like talking on the phone. Some don't, and that's some people. But like you said, you just had that one person who was probably getting a divorce, and it was just like it clicked, and they're like, yes, please, like help me out. And you're like, oh, you're helping me out. This is my first listing. That's great. So you booked the appointment. That's great. And then tell us
Yeah.
about the listing appointment.
So I booked the appointment, and I called her. So I did the research over the weekend, and I reached out to her and I said, I found some great comparables in your area, things that have sold, things that are active. I would love to come meet you and show you my findings and take a tour of your home. And she said, absolutely. I was like, great.
No objections to handle there, which is great.
I'm like over there like sweating. I'm like trying to get through. I'm like, oh my God, like inside, really good persona, but inside I'm like, holy, oh
Of
my
course.
God.
It's your first appointment. I mean, you got to celebrate that. I mean, it's like the first appointment, first listing appointment, first listing, first sell. You got to celebrate those wins.
Yes, I absolutely did. So, I reached out to my broker and I said, I have this appointment for Monday. Can you please come with me? Show me the ropes, brand new. He said, absolutely. I'll meet you there. So then I went and prepared, and I got the property valuation, got that going. I did a CMA for her. I pulled the MLS comparables, put it all together nicely. Again, I'm not with a big company, so, I'm sure other companies have all these really nice things going on, but I'm working with my own. So I did my own creative thing, put it in my own folders and made it look pretty my own way. And drove up to Cloverdale, and which is right past Healdsburg. I don't know if you're familiar with the area.
Healdsburg is gorgeous. I stayed there once, like 5-6 years ago. I mean, that whole area is gorgeous. I mean, I love it.
You should come back and see it now. It is beautiful up there. Anyways, drove up to Cloverdale, met my broker there, and we introduced ourselves, and we toured the home and went inside and looked at everything. There were some other things going on in the household. I don't know if everybody was really aware of what was going on, so there was a little bit of awkwardness going on. And again,
welcome to real estate, right? So, it's like you're in these positions where it's like you don't know what to do. Like did they tell their kids that they have a real estate agent that they want to sell their house? Like that's some weird stuff, but you have to kind of think on your feet and go with the flow, right?
That was exactly what happened. There was a lot of questions being asked by the daughter, and it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I don't know if this is how it always goes. I have no idea, but I was just taking what was coming at me. So fought through some awkward things, sat down at the table. We talked about some things we had. I had really good rapport with her. I was building it. We were getting along really well. I was liking her energy. She was liking mine. And we were discussing market, comparables, price. She liked that my broker and I came up with. And then it was kind of like we had the contract there. We weren't forcing it, but it was out on the table. And, I don't know, but I've never been married or divorced. So I don't really know, but I think that she might have felt a little bit, she wasn't quite ready to sign anything on her own without talking to anybody. So she was like, I'm going to talk to my parents. I will reach back out to you. And I was like, absolutely. And we wrapped up our meeting, and I drove down.
So I want to pause right there, and I want to share a book that I think I shared before, and I think it's somewhere in here in the back of, it's called the Social Styles Handbook. Where is it at? Social Styles Handbook. Hold on, give me 1 second, because I think it's a really good book. And when you told me that she has to ask her parents, that means that she's an amiable. I don't know what the book's at. Amiable personality. So there's four styles, right? You have expressives, you have amiables, you have analyticals, and you have the last one is it's like a driver or something like that. But she's an amiable, and amiable people need to get like somebody else on their team, like their husband or their friend or somebody they trust to talk to. And like, so in that case, you have to talk to her parents, right? So that's the amiable. And this book is called, just Google The Social Styles Handbook. It's a phenomenal sales book. Social Styles Handbook. It's worked for me on some deals where I'm like, how do I deal with this person? They're like completely different than me. Like I just can't understand why they're not understanding what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
So when you said that, I was like, oh crap, she's an amiable. That's great. So then that book tells you how to handle that type of person in negotiations. you know so
I'm
then
out.
you might have been like, hey, you know what, that sounds great. You want to talk to your parents about it. Why don't we get them on the phone right now and let's have a discussion so that you feel comfortable, they feel comfortable. If they want to ask any questions to me, we can answer them right away. She might say no, and she might feel pressured, but at least that you can bring that up. But the book has more suggestions for that kind of personality. But anyway, go on. That
Yeah,
was good.
I'm going to write that down. I'm absolutely going to check it out. I'm trying to read
Yeah.
and learn all these different things. It's like being new, it's like, it's hard to,
Yeah.
I don't know these things yet. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so I took that, I left, and I have a cousin that lives in Healdsburg, and I went to her house and celebrated the little things, like my first
Good.
listing appointment, drank some
Yeah.
and
Nice. Micheladas.
and had a nice little, evening together.
Good.
So I'm planning on reaching back out to her. I'm not sure, honestly, how long.
Okay, so when you're at a listing appointment, you either get a listing signed or you schedule another appointment.
Okay.
So that's like that's the number one rule is you do not leave that appointment without having a signed listing or an appointment. Hey, I totally understand that you want to talk to your parents. Why don't we do this? Because I want to make sure that you take advantage of this hot market, and you don't know, like, if interest rates go up, property values are going to go down. I want to make sure that you're able to sell on time. You got to create a little bit of doubt there and a little bit of urgency as well. And so then you say, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't you talk to your parents? I'll give you a few days. Why don't we meet next week on like Monday or Tuesday around 12, whatever works for you. And then at least at that point, you have something to go on, right?
Yes.
So when did you meet with her last?
So that was on Monday.
Monday. Okay. So have you talked to her since then?
I sent a follow-up text message, and,
Okay.
it's great to meet you.
Yeah.
Um, looking forward to hearing back, and, taking your, and making a better future for you.
Perfect. That's great. And did she respond?
She didn't.
Okay. It's
I
okay.
don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. I would call her.
Okay.
I definitely call her.
Okay.
And because people, they're processing things. If she's going through a divorce, that's really heavy. So we got to be compassionate about that.
Yeah.
But I would try to call her today because
Okay.
you don't want it to keep going on, because then
Yeah.
you're just going to lose it, right? So you want to stay on hot there. And then if she doesn't answer, leave a voicemail. Hey, I just want to check in, make sure that you're doing well. If you had any questions, I know that you were going to talk to your parents. If you'd like, we can get on the phone on a conference call with your parents to discuss any questions you may have or any questions they have. And that's it. And if she doesn't answer, then you may want to, send her a text next week and say, hey, I want to make sure, did I do anything wrong? And that's it. And it'll bring something up. It's a very weird question. And a lot of people, are like, that's a weird question, but it's not, because what it will do is they'll feel bad. They'll be like, wow, like, why aren't they, why am I not getting back to this person? Like they went to, they spent 2 or 3 hours probably researching, doing all this work, coming to visit me, and now I'm ghosting them, right? So that's always a good question. Hey, did I do anything wrong? Because I haven't heard back from you. I want to make sure that you're okay.
I'm absolutely going to do that. I'm going to, give her the call today.
Yeah.
And follow-ups. I appreciate you giving me some advice there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking for advice, so that's great.
That's awesome, though. That's awesome. Listen, we don't get every listing that we go on, right? But you should. There's agents out there, like my ratio is like 50%, so it's not good. There's a lot of agents I know that are at 80%. So almost every single listing, they're closing every single time, and it's just something that you have to learn over time. It's just like, I'm still learning, so it's just, you're just new to the business, and just keep learning every single time. Okay, so you went on your first listing appointment. That's amazing. You have a schedule, you have a list of things to do, you're prospecting right now.
Yeah.
You're not part of a team though, so you're kind of on your own, and that's unusual for a lot of people now because in this new age of real estate, there's a lot of teams to join, you know?
Hmm.
So you took a different route. You said, I'm going to go on my own and do it. What was the reason behind that, or the reason behind going with a smaller brokerage compared to going to like a Compass or another brokerage that might give you some more training?
So that's a good question. When I was, getting to the point of trying to figure out where I was going to go, I reached out to a couple family friends in the business and said, do you go a bigger company route? Do you go a boutique route? But the problem is everybody has their own opinion.
Of course.
Everybody has an opinion. And it's
Yeah.
just, it started rattling me a little bit because I couldn't,
Yeah.
I kept seeing both of, this side and this side. And I was like, I don't know what to do. But as in my research, I reached out to a couple different people. I was going on Craigslist to figure out, where I was going to go. And honestly, it was Craigslist. And I kept going past this one ad of Julian Camp. And I kept clicking on it. I clicked on it 4 times, 4 separate times in a month. And if I would go on, click on it, I would read it. I would go to his website. I would read it. And it was everything that he was saying really resonated with me. I was like, that's who I am, and there's a lot of things.
So what is it? What do you say?
For example, my mom, single mom, 3 kids. She worked at Cron 4 Television in San Francisco, made a great living. She was #1 sales for 10 years. And I remember asking my mom,
Wow.
what separated you from #1 to #2? Because you were so far past #2. What are you doing that's so different? And she goes, the fact that I build a relationship with my clients. It's not just I want to, take your money and, be done with you. I actually want to watch them, their company do good. I want to watch them do good. I want to know about their family and who they are and, their kids' names, where their kids go to school, their parents' name. And that really was a lot of, it built a lot of trust between her and her client. And it wasn't fake. It was real. It was genuine. The client could feel it. She could feel it. And that's why so many people wanted to work with her. And when I was reading Julian's website, it's basically exactly what my mom said to me, but just Julian's words. And I was like, that's what I like.
Got it.
He likes to help people. He wants to see people get into the home. He wants to see, great things happen for people and that smile on their face and that genuine thank you for your getting me there, and that resonated with me. And in that time of life, in my life, we had a family loss and I was, feeling kind of down and I wasn't really wanted to be put into I didn't want to be one of 40 agents. I wanted to be one of 4. I feel, that I feel like I am one of 4 than one of 50. And I feel like I can shine and that I can, just, I don't know, not necessarily shine better, but just, I don't know, it gives me a little bit more of personal identification, I guess. And
sure.
So I just kept reading it and I kept reading it. And then I finally reached out to him and he was like, let's go to lunch. I'd love to meet you. And I met him and the vibe was there. And so I went with him, but I didn't ask the right questions in the beginning, but more so, how many listings do you have right now? Things like that. And so where I'm at now is I am with a smaller brokerage. There isn't tons of, momentum. He's been a broker, or he's been in real estate for 20 years. He's had his brokerage for 2 years. So it's kind of like he's developing it. So when I talked to a friend at Coldwell Banker, and then they started telling me about all their marketing and their legal assistants and like all these things. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm over here pioneering a flyer that's taking me 4 hours to do. I mean,
yeah.
So it's like that. I'm still in that toss up, did I make a good decision? Just because the grass looks greener over there, is it greener over there? I mean, the grass is greener.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's where I'm at right now and I'm liking where I'm at. I like the training that I've gotten. I plan on being a very successful real estate agent. So, I'm not sure where that will take me, but I'm sure eventually I will want to be somewhere where there's a lot of action going on. And so where I'm at right
I
now. I
think
don't know.
yeah. I think the most important thing is when you start is training. It's just training because like there's no handbook for real estate, you know. I mean, there's a lot of books out there that you can read, but every market is different. So what works in this market may not work in this market. Some scripts will work in certain markets that won't work in other markets, you know. So it's about knowing your market, knowing who you're talking to, and then creating a business around that and having a business plan too. Like, all right, I'm gonna focus on these different types of lead pillars, right? I'm going to have a geographic farm. I'm going to call expired and cancels. I'm going to do open houses, twice a month, and I'm going to work on my sphere of influence, or I'm going to do social media, or there's so many different things that you can do to create business. You don't want to rely just on one source. That's the most important thing. Don't rely on one source. You have to have at least 4 different sources. If you have 5 different sources, even better. But as a new agent, just have 4 sources, right? So open houses, that would be like one of the first things I would do if I were you, is like Saturday and Sunday, do them both days, or even Fridays, like, you know, talk to people. Door knocking on in your geographic farm is really important. So I think training is probably the most important thing as a new agent. I didn't get the proper training when I started, so I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. Luckily, you know, I came into LA, you know, 3 years after I started real estate, and I learned from somebody who was selling multi-million dollar estates, and I was around people that were very successful, but I still didn't know how to run a business until like 2 years ago. And it's crazy. Like literally 13 years into my career, I understood some of the basic things in real estate, because, you know, I was getting fed some leads here and there, and I was in a market where I can survive by selling, you know, 10 or 15 million dollars of real estate. But, you know, I wasn't really thriving, you know. So I think that's the most important thing. So what's the next step for you? And like, obviously you're just starting, you're soaking up all this information, which is great. You're not letting fear, you know, take over you, because you're just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, whatever your quote said, but you're going to go up to the top, which is great. So what's the next thing for you? What are your goals for the next, you know, 3 months?
Well, my goal is to absolutely, either one of the two will be fine with me, list a home and sell it,
Yeah.
or find a buyer and successfully get them into a house.
Yes.
That's my goal right now, is to make that happen. And that's on my board. I look at it every day, find a buyer,
Good.
find someone
You
to list
will.
their house. And so the brokers that I meet when I go do the brokers tours, I always tell them, you know, I'm a brand new agent. I'm looking to meet as many people as I can, shake as many hands as I can, or whatever it is.
Smart.
Nobody do. And so get out there, and a lot of them are very into it. They're like, absolutely. I give them my card. So I've done a couple open houses for a couple brokers outside of my brokerage.
Okay,
And
good.
I'll go in there, and you know, I like to do little things like I'll make cookies and have them pre-wrapped, and I play a little music.
Smart.
Sinatra music lightly in the background, some cookies, and have some water, and know the house that I'm in, and, you know, bedroom footage, a little bit about the neighborhood. And
Smart.
hoping to grab somebody that comes in. Last week I thought about doing like a little raffle type thing. My family has an olive oil company, so I thought about, you know, putting like a little olive oil package together and enticing people to give me their email addresses that way, being like, oh, I'll put your email address down, and to win
That's a good idea.
Olive oil collection here.
That's a good idea. So a couple of tips for open houses. If you're doing it on Saturday, door knock on, you know, Thursday. If you're doing it on the weekends, obviously you want to door knock the neighborhood Thursday or Friday. Talk to the people. Say, hey, you know, we're serving champagne. We're doing a raffle, whatever you're offering, you know, and you door knock and you ask everybody, hey, you know, come over. We'd love to have you over. Plus, I have some buyers looking in the area. Do you know anybody that's looking to sell? You're not asking a direct question if they're looking to sell, but if you ask them, do you know anybody in your area looking to sell? Which, if they are looking to sell, they will tell you, you know?
Yeah.
But that's a good reason to door knock that area, right? Before an open house. Number 2, when you're at the open house, get an app. It's called Spacio, SPACIO. SPACIO. It's like $20 a month. there may be a free version or like a free month. So I would definitely try it out. And it's basically, you get your laptop or your iPad, or, whatever you have, you put it out, and it's a sign-in sheet, and they put in their name, their whatever email, and then you can actually ask any questions. Are you working with an agent? Are you a buyer? Are you looking to buy in the next 3 months, 6 or 9 months? Any additional comments? You can do anything you want on there. And so it looks a little bit more professional. Plus, when they sign in and you have it automatically email them 3 hours later, thanking them, thank you for coming over to the open house. You have their information, but also say, hey, when they come in, the seller is requiring everybody to sign in, and if they don't want to give their email, that's fine. Some people don't want to give their email. The other tip is, when you're talking to somebody at the open house, don't remove eye contact, right? So you get other people coming in, stay focused on that one person until you finish with them. And the point of that conversation is to book an appointment. Everything we do is to book an appointment. So if it's a buyer coming in, ask them some questions. How long have you been looking to buy? Have you written any offers? What are you looking for? Are you working with an agent? If they are working with an agent, are they curious about finding off-market properties? That's the easiest way to get their information, is off-market properties, because every single buyer, right now, they know that this market is super hot, and they're having to deal with so many other buyers and offers. So they're frustrated, if they submitted 4 or 5 offers, or they've been looking for a year because they haven't been able to get anything. So you find off-market properties for them, then you'll get their information, and then you can have them as a buyer, right? And if they're looking in a certain area, then you can go door knock that area. Hey, I got a buyer looking in this area, or you cold call that area. So those are a couple of tips on open houses.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always, it's a learning curve. Absolutely. So it's, each one I do is going to get better and better. I will be there and somebody will walk away and be like, oh, I didn't ask question. After they
I do that too. I do that too. It happens. It happens. But just learn. Just say, okay, you just have to train yourself. Like, I did my first open house, because here in California, as you know, they weren't allowed until like 2 months ago. So I did my first one last month, and it was great. We had a ton of people there. It was awesome. I mean, it was a great house too. It was a great, in a perfect price range, like 1.6 in West Hollywood. And we had this great couple that came by, and they were really impressed with what we did to the property, because we transformed it. We had a good rapport, and I booked the appointment right there. I got the listing. So they're selling their house for 2.5 million, and they're going to buy for 2.5 million. So it's a $5 million, it's a $100,000 commission right there in that, which is great. So it just shows you, right? It's like, you got to take these things seriously. And I also got a listing appointment because I door knocked a few days before that in the area. So it's simple. It took me an hour. I walked by, and I dropped off a flyer with comps and a little flyer about our listing, and I said, come over, we're gonna have champagne and snacks or whatever. You have to entice them with something, tequila tasting, wine tasting, olive tasting, whatever it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how trying to entice was the idea of the raffle with the olive oil, just trying to get creative. It's all about not reinventing the wheel, and all of these things work. The talking, the prospecting, the flyers, the open houses. And so when I'm researching and ways to do, I see all these things, I write them down and I do them, even if it just makes me want to cringe going and doing it, because then it's over. I was terrified to come on here and talk. I've never done Instagram Live before.
I know, that's amazing. I know.
But here we are. We're halfway through it, and I'm doing it. So.
No, and I when I was thinking about that with my team, because I have a social media guy, and I'm like, how do I engage my audience more? Because I want to be able to provide more value and just talk to other people. And so I was like, all right, I want to interview people that are following me, and nobody responded until like this one agent here in Malibu responded, and she's a new agent too, and she's like, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to let this thing in my head control me. I'm just going to go for it. And then you were the second one too. So that's great. Like, I love that. Like, and anybody who's watching right now, if you guys want to go on Instagram Live with me, like, I want to talk to you guys. I think it's cool. Like, like I want to mentor people too. And like, I'm looking to bring people on my team. I have gotten at least 25 to 30 applicants, four of
Nice.
which have gone through the next process to a phone interview. Two of those four have gone to the next process of a video. And then after that, then they're going to get into an in-person interview. So I got two people that are going to get interviewed tomorrow at my office. So I'm excited about that because it's like I'm growing my team
Congratulations.
and I get to mentor. Thank you. Thank you. So I get to mentor somebody new into the luxury real estate because, that's where I was at, what is that, 12 years ago now? Yeah, 12 years ago. This is where I came to LA. I was selling $200,000 houses in Rancho Cucamonga, and I was terrified. I was like, I'm gonna go to Beverly Hills. Like, I don't belong here, you know? It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's weird. I
you
don't
did it.
belong here. I'm like, I don't know anybody here, So
Life's
that,
right path.
yeah, yeah. And my mom always told me, she's like, I want you to do luxury real estate. I know you can do. I'm like, Mom, I'm from Rancho Cucamonga. Like, I don't know what do I know about Beverly Hills in Bel Air, But here I am at, at one of the best firms in the world, and I still to this day when I go to the office, I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm like, what's going on? What happened? But it's great. It's great. What questions? We have to wrap up here in a few minutes. What questions do you have for me about your business, about helping you out? I've already given you a couple of tips, but what else? Any questions you have?
How did you learn your negotiating skills? Like, did you read books? Did you learn from people in your office? How did you learn how to negotiate, or did it come naturally? You kind of knew how to do it.
Well, I'm Colombian, so
Okay.
in my background, negotiating is like we negotiate for everything. Like I took my girlfriend to Colombia, and she was like, "God, you're so annoying. You got to negotiate for everything." I'm like, "This is fun. That's what we do."
Yeah.
So a little bit of that, but negotiating for those kind of things is completely different than with negotiating about somebody's most expensive asset, real estate. They get really highly emotional. They're really passionate, so you really have to know how to speak to them, be compassionate, right? So it I learned a few different ways. First, obviously my culture is all about negotiating. Number two is the guy I used to work with at Hilton and Hyland when I first came to Beverly Hills, Chad
Mm-hmm.
Rogers. He was very good at negotiating. He just had a natural ability to talk to people and to kind of guide them. Like, hey, like, I see where you're coming from, but I've been doing this for a long time. Like, th- this is where I'm at here. Like, this is where I think you should be, and like not really forcing it too. Like, you don't want to force it. And there's a fine line when you
Yeah.
negotiate, right? You have to be compassionate. You have to listen. You have to understand where they're coming from, and then from there, you have to figure out, all right, what's the best tactic for this person? Should I be a little bit more pressure? Should I back off? Should maybe I explain some of the details? Because some people want the details, some people don't want the details. But that book, Social Styles, I tell you, it's a phenomenal book, because it'll tell you how to speak to people that have different personality traits, and you'll find out. Okay, am I amiable? Then you will work easier with amiables. I'm more of an expressive. So for me, analyticals, which is diagonal to the chart. So the chart is divided into four. You have expressives down below, amiables, analyticals, and drivers. I think drivers. So across from me, diagonal is analytical. So that's the person that I have more trouble with. It's like because I'm not really analytical with things. So when I'm dealing with a client that's analytical, and I've dealt with them in the past, I don't know, like it's really hard for me to have a conversation with them because they're on a different wavelength,
Yeah.
right? So I think that book is phenomenal. And then Tom Ferry, he's a phenomenal coach.
I
He's
love
great.
talking.
Like, yeah, he's great. Like I was not big on coaching. Like before I joined coaching, I was like, that's bullshit, the scam, like blah blah blah. I had all these ideas in my head, and it's weird because I grew up playing soccer until through college, and I was always being coached, and so I don't know if maybe I was scared subconsciously, in doing something difficult in my business that I wasn't ready for. I think maybe that's what it was. But I love his podcasts. Like his podcasts are great. And I love
Love his.
hearing his podcast that when he interviews other agents. because that's when I learn the most. Like, I'm like, all right, what are they doing? Like what's working for them? You know, I want to
That's
do that. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I love watching him. And I mean, I listen to his podcast when I'm laying there in bed, waking up, going to sleep, and just, I love his energy. And so, I mean,
Good
he
energy.
just is like, the point just goes, that's how you do it. Look how easy it is. That's all you got to say. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I want it to be that now.
Yeah.
So,
He's amazing human being. Like, I saw him at his big event called the Summit 2 years ago
yeah.
in Anaheim. That was like 2 months before I started coaching. And so I went, it was here in Anaheim, and I was like floored. I was like, holy shit, this guy was speaking with the same energy for 4 hours straight.
He
I
fires
mean,
me up. He's going.
yeah, right. Yeah. And you know, he learned from the best. I mean, he has amazing mentors, you know. And I know Tony Robbins speaks for like 10 hours straight with like enthusiasm. Like, a human being is able to do that kind of energy for that many hours in front of 5,000 people. It's like, it's mind-boggling to me. It's like, wow, this guy,
It
you
really,
know, it just shows you that the limits we put on ourselves are just bullshit. You know, we're able to do whatever we
oh,
want
yeah,
to do, you know? So
absolutely.
yeah, I listen to a
There's
lot
not
of,
much.
I,
If I can't do it, I can figure out somebody that can do it. So,
yeah, yeah, for sure. So I learned a lot from him. Obviously my coach through Tom Ferry, his name is Jeff Mays. He's amazing. He's one of the speakers at the Tom Ferry event. So he's one of their mastery coaches. And I've, you know, been lucky enough to be coached by him. He's really good with scripts. So you know, he's taught me a lot. And I have role play partners as well. So I role play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every single day of the week, I have somebody different. And you know, we have a half an hour conversation, and we role play circle dialing, expired and canceled calls, and we just talk about our business. Hey, what's working for you? What's working for, you know, me? How can I help you? How can you help me? And I think it's good to have that community, because real estate is such a solo business. You know, unless you're with a team, it's lonely. You're out here by yourself, and you try to motivate yourself, and that's not easy.
no, it's not. It
Yeah.
really isn't. You've given me such helpful advice there. I look forward to running with
Well,
it.
good. Well, thank you for coming on, Eric. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, as always, you can always, you know, you have my email now, right?
I do.
Or you can send me a DM.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it, Paul. And good
All right,
luck
Erica,
with
we'll
your,
talk. All right.
can't wait to get mine.
Thank you. Yes, you too. Let me
All
know
right.
how that goes. I want to
Thank you.
know. Call her today, and then also ask her,
Okay.
hey, I have some buyers that are asking if your house is available, right? Even if you don't have buyers, right? Because she's not going to ask you, oh, which buyers? You know, just ask her.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get her motivated as well. And also, you want to find out why she's looking to sell. Obviously, the divorce, but get her excited about her next move, right? Like wherever that is, get her excited about it, because you know, selling is not really motivating unless you're moving somewhere else. And then so you want to find out where she's looking to move. How can I help you, you know, in your next purchase or rental or whatever it is.
Great. I will absolutely let you know how it goes and see where it happens. And I hope she signs that piece of paper and I come back and tell you she signed it.
Yes, you'll do it.
All
You'll do
right.
it.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Erica. All right.
All right, Paul. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.